Welcome to Entrepreneurs Conquering the World, how to build a global audience and profit from it. With your host, Carmen Ring.
Hello everyone, welcome to Entrepreneurs Conquering the World. My name is Carmen Ring, I am your host, and today I have with me a very successful business person, a very successful in the international market. As a matter of fact, Tracy, who is now with me today, she is a 7-time international best-selling author, and she's also an award-winning entrepreneur. Tracy has been serving customers all around the world and helping them develop a fully branded online presence so they can reach millions and millions with their message. Also, Tracy has been featured on ABC, NBC, Fox, USA Today, and many others. But I'm going to let her tell you more about herself. Tracy, welcome to our show.
Oh, thanks, Carmen, for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little more about your career journey, how everything started, and what it took for you to get where you are today?
Okay. I started actually a software company at the age of 19 when I graduated with a degree in IT. So that was difficult right off the bat. A woman in the software industry pitching to major corporations. At that time, I served nonprofit, government agencies, the lottery corporation, and large companies. So it was quite an egg to crack right off the bat. When I did the software, probably about 5 years into it, I had to go global because my software actually satisfied everyone around the world. So that started on my journey. So I started in 1985. By 1990, I was already had my software in worldwide distribution. Then along comes 1994, and the internet was born. And that's when I started on the internet, and I started to work with companies like Walmart and JCPenney and Home Depot. And I was doing what was called electronic data interchange. And at that time, I also started to do the website, the SEO, the branding, simply because I had to do it for my own company. And so therein was born kind of what I'm really passionate about, which is taking people and creating their online presence and their online vision. Fast forward again to kind of 2006, and I moved from Canada to the US to really go into internet marketing and social media full time. And then really since then, I became a 7-time international best-selling author. I've spoken in over 39 countries. Like you said, been on many TV and national shows, 3 motivational movies. It's been a whirlwind.
And before I ask you what it feels like to be there and asking you some questions about how you're handling it, I would like you to give us a few steps that you took in between from the moment you moved to the US, and how did you brand yourself, or what exactly did you do to actually be recognized on the international market?
Yeah, that was an interesting approach I had to take, because when I came from Canada to the US, I was nothing. I was not an internet marketer. Nobody knew me. I had attended my first internet event called the World Internet Summit, and the stage was full of 16 men. That's really what kind of set me off to, hey, I'm going to be a speaker, because there's no way that in all the world a woman shouldn't be on that stage. So I had no idea how that was going to happen, but here's what I did and how I live as an entrepreneur, and that is I see a need and I fill the gap. At that time, the gap was there was no book in the marketplace that was the A to Z of internet marketing. It was, if you do eBay, you'll make millions. If you do this, you'll make millions. And the problem with that is there was all these steps. And again, as a computer programmer, as an accountant, I'm very logical structured. I needed a blueprint. So I created the blueprint back then in a book called 31 Days to Millionaire Marketing Miracles. That launched to #1 on Amazon, and that's how I broke into the scene. Is from there, everybody started to call me and say, can you coach me through the book? So I created a $10,000 coaching program called Entrepreneur in Overdrive. And what I would do is show them how to select a niche, how to keyword research, then how to create your landing page, all of the steps that was needed to build the online foundation. And so that's where it began. I made so much money. I made 6 figures in a few months. And that's where the World Internet Summit saw that I'd come from nothing, got a book on Amazon to #1, made a massive amount of money, and then started to emerge as an authority. So they awarded me New Internet Marketing Success of the Year, and they flew me, all expenses paid, from California to Singapore to appear on my very first stage in front of 3,400 people. That blew open the speaking career. It was literally a fairy book beginning.
And how did it feel for you when you were for the first time in front of an international audience? Did you have to adapt your technique, or was it all the same?
At that time, when I was in Singapore, I didn't adapt anything. Nothing changed. It was the presentation that I was used to giving. Now, of course, after 39 countries, massive amounts sometimes have to be implemented. In countries that are English speaking in general, I don't change a thing. But for example, I just got back from Brazil, where I did a keynote for the Intelligent Marketing Conference. And then after that, I did a workshop for 30 selected major corporations. And so within that, everything was translated. So I was translated to Portuguese simultaneously, and all questions had to come back to me in Portuguese. So not too bad in the keynote, but it was sure as heck difficult in the workshop. And so what has to happen there primarily is a normal 60 or 90-minute presentation gets shortened because you can't have the translation timing go. And the other element is I had to speak much slower so that the translators could pick up what I was saying. So it wasn't my normal, kind of thing. I have to really watch my pacing and pause and make sure everybody's getting it. And then you have to, after it has been translated, you have to watch the audience to make sure they're getting it. Even though, you said it like whatever, a minute ago, you have to make sure that they got it. And you'll get that because all of a sudden they either nod, smile, something occurs. If they're staying blank, you know that they didn't get it, and you actually need to repeat it simply because they may not be as advanced as we are or have some of the terminology that we do.
So you have to be very connected to the audience. You have to know, it's usually the audience who listens to you, but in this case, even more, you have to be listening and watching your audience and see how they react to make sure your message gets across.
Exactly. Now, normally you do that, but in this case, with the time lag, it's actually far more difficult.
And in terms of, so this is what happens when you are in front of them. How about before you get there? Do you use different marketing strategies to promote yourself? Do you feel different people from different countries react different to a message? Do you have to change your taglines, your titles, stuff like that?
I do, yeah. So generally, my marketing doesn't change. And in most cases, I'm not doing a lot of the marketing. The company that hosts books me, they're doing the marketing. And so, what I have to do though is I have to understand their audience so that I can name my presentation. Even though it might be the exact same presentation, I have to name it differently. And then I have to watch some of the things that are within it. For example, when I went to China, and I did a presentation called the Social Consciousness of Technology at the Global Leaders Economic Summit, which was to presidents, heads of states, and CEOs. All of my social media stuff had to incorporate what they use because they don't have Google, they don't have Facebook, they don't have Twitter, they don't have any of the things we do. They have different things, like Ren and stuff like that. And so what I would do is I would bring up actually the American version and side by side it with their version, because what I was trying to convey to them is regardless of the technology you use in social media, you need to be upping your responsibility level and connecting to philanthropic or global philosophies that will help to help the planet in general.
So you mentioned a lot social media. Would social media, in your opinion, be the best tool to reach the international market? I know nowadays internet it makes it so easy to be online, to have an online presence everywhere. Do you use any other tools other than the social media? Maybe your books. Do you still use your books as a marketing technique?
I don't use my books. I'd use my books as simply because my books aren't translated. So therein lies the difficulty. From a global perspective, obviously for UK, Australia, it's easy. They go to Amazon, they order the book. I will be promoting like crazy in that scenario. But again, China, Brazil, all of these other countries that aren't English speaking in general, like, you know, Dubai and Kuwait and Afghanistan and these other places I've been, they are very specific. And so in general, sometimes you can't even reach them on social media. And so if that becomes almost a barrier. And what you have to do is look for ways to possibly promote on their platforms. And so if they're Google whatever, you know, .br for Brazil, I may have to place ads or do things of that nature. In general, though, what happens with me is I get booked internationally without kind of doing anything right now. So like Brazil found me, China found me, all these countries are finding me only because of where I am now as a speaker. In the beginning, of course, you're going to have to create two things, I think. One is a very strong online presence. I built my website to profile me as an international speaker, even when I wasn't yet. And I built my LinkedIn profile to become as a huge speaker. Now it's of course naturally true, and I can list all the countries. But in the beginning, I just, you know, said these are the topics I can speak on, and I was keywording and connecting to topics that other countries and other people may want. Even if I hadn't ever even spoken about that, I knew I could create a presentation and do it. And so you've got to appeal to some kind of foundational elements like your website and maybe LinkedIn if you are a speaker. And then other than that, you know, you're going to have to leverage their platforms in most cases. And social media becomes almost a byline. You know, it becomes, you know, because I can tweet all day long, but the fact, you know, if I think it's going to get picked up by a Brazilian, chances are it's not.
But you say they book you right now. After they book you, do they translate your marketing and do they put you on their platforms and they take care of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. They did all the promotion. They filled the event. They paid me to be there. They pay all my expenses. Everything is kind of how it's happening now.
And have you ever thought about maybe having your books translated in different languages?
If it was my book, absolutely, 100% I would. But here's where I am now. When I had 31 Days to Millionaire Marketing Miracles, it was self-published, it was mine. I could do whatever I wanted with it. Now, Wiley Publishing, North America's largest publisher, and my New York literary agent own the book. And so I can't translate, I can't do anything with it. Otherwise, I definitely would be going crazy in other markets. I have to write another book in order to penetrate other markets from that scenario because they own all the rights. And they would have to see, in order to convert and translate, such a huge demand to make it a viable product for them, right? And they just don't, they don't see that, hey, I'm going to go and conquer Brazil, hey, I go down there and I spoke to about 800 people. Well, they see obviously only a fraction of them is going to buy the book. It's just not worth it.
I see, at their level. So you're going to have to write another book. And then are you planning to do this? Is this sometime in your future?
I don't know. I've been offered book deals by major companies. I've been offered the Dummy series. I've been offered definitely to continue to write books. I could write books all day long, technically, just because of the amount of content I have. The thing about writing a book for me is it pulls me out of the game a little too long, and because of my speaking schedule, which is constant, because of my delivery demands with my clients. I have clients all over the world. I'm actually, I run a publishing house here. I run a web design. I run graphics. We run social media services, SEO services. all of these things I'm, kind of managing. And so it's very difficult for me in the place I am right now to pull myself out and just go and write a book. It's not on the radar.
And I'm actually so happy you said that, because I would like you to share something about strategies and being productive and keeping focus on what makes most sense for you and your business and where you're at. If you can tell us a little bit, what methods do you use, or how do you decide what are you focused on and which path do you follow, and how do you stay away from distractions? Because in this case, like you said, the book would be a distraction from your path.
Exactly. And that's a super question, and one that I deal with my clients all the time. Because there's so many bright, shiny objects, there's so many opportunities. The bigger you get, the more opportunities you get, and everything seems like, oh, if only I did that, how exciting that would be. But the thing is, this is where you really need to know yourself. You really need to set your 4 core strategies for the year. What are you going to focus on? And then you have to implement that. And then as far as like what I say to my clients, they have to keep their eye on the cash. Okay, what's the fastest way to the cash? That's program delivery. So you need to be selling, and then you need to deliver that program. And so that's primarily a lot of times where we will focus. We'll stay in 3 fields. Once my clients have the foundation in place for what they're delivering and the money that they're making, then the next step, and this is one I've implemented now solidly for the last 3 years, because we grew at such a pace that without systems and structure in place, everything would have collapsed. And so I had to build very sophisticated tracking systems that my clients could go in, they could see everything that I'm doing, they could understand and be trained on everything that I'm doing, because otherwise I'd be building everything in a black box. So I created a whole system called Instant Online Impact, and that they log into and they get to see. And then I did the same thing for my staff. Because then we started to hire so much staff, and it started to get crazy, because they would be like, what's the access for this domain? How do I get here? What's this? What tool do we use? What is the strategy for, speaker sites? All of these things. So literally over the last 5 years, I've been building what's called a procedures and policy manual, and that's what I teach my clients as well. And what is that? That means every single thing that you do that you no longer want to do one day, whether that's your accounting, whether that's social media, doesn't matter. You have to document what you do. And so I document, screenshot, do everything, and that way I can farm it off to staff. And then what we did is we built an entire centralized system that documents everything, has all of our stuff located, all of our domains, everything is up there, so that we can now properly manage and continue to grow.
When you get a customer that wants to brand himself online, what's the point? Let's say, when would you advise someone to start seriously thinking about this? What do they have to have in place before thinking about online branding, like their product, their market? What's the point where you take customers on?
I take customers on from the very beginning, and here's why. If you jump into a crowded marketplace, of which everything we're doing right now is crowded, and you do not have an established brand, which means you don't have a unique selling proposition, people don't know, you have no clear message, how are you going to convey what your product or service is? It's going to come across as whitewash. So that's the second thing that I do. The first thing that I do is make sure that we identify who is your target market. Here's why that's critical. Who has the money to pay you what you're worth and what you want to sell them? And then how are we going to reach them? And then what are their expectations? And here's why we have to know that immediately. If we do not, we can't build the website. We can't establish colors. We can't build a logo and a brand around it. We can't identify what the best unique selling proposition is that will relate to that exact market. We can't create keywords that Google can identify with, and therefore that search market can identify with. And because all of this has to happen in the very beginning. People can jump out and say, hey, I'm going to build a product, or I'm going to do a book, or here we go. Yay, I've got this. Well, who are you marketing it to now? And then they sit there and wonder why they're not making any money. It's because they're trying to now come into a crowded marketplace with a product that there's probably 10 others, and they don't understand what's the difference.
So you help them get answers to all of these questions that you mentioned. What's my target market? How do I market to them? And what's the need? Like you said at the beginning, you are an expert at seeing the gap and then filling the gap. So you help them do all this. They don't have to come to you with these answers and then you just build the marketing for them.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the biggest thing. It's too hard for them to come with those answers. You can't read the label from inside the jar. That's what starts to happen. It's very difficult to brand yourself. It's very difficult to identify your own unique selling proposition, what makes you you, and you know, why should somebody select you? Simply because you're too close to it. And so again, with I have between a questionnaire and then a one-on-one call we get on, what I do is we establish, I listen to them as part of it. I can tell when they're excited. I can tell when they've tapped into to what's real, their passion, where their energy comes from, where their source and mission is. Then we go from there, and then I actually go out and do a whole pile of research. I spend about 2 weeks researching before we brand a client, and then I take it from there. Then everything starts to pour out. The landing page comes out, the logo, the design, the graphics, the banners, the guides, their entire website unfolds page by page by page, and then we start, you know, what traffic strategies, what social media platforms should you be on, all of it.
And when are you done with the client?
Well,
consider the mission completed.
So here's how it works in general. They'll come with me for a year, okay? And that's kind of the platinum level. There's platinum and diamond, depending on how much they want us to do. And then after that year, they can move to an alumni program. And so I hope people stay with me for a while. The alumni program is incredibly cost effective. And what that would include is me maintaining their websites all year, me creating and developing, still continuing to develop, continuing to keep their SEO alive, continuing to keep their market alignment alive, and it gets them to have me as a mentor for a year. So we meet every single month and we do a session on what did you do last month and what are you doing this month, and then I give them the action plan and all the strategies and the places they have to do to execute that, and then that's how it unfolds. So I move heavily into even though in the first year I'm still in a mentorship role, but a lot of times there's a lot of building going on in year one. Second year is strategies. Third year, we kind of start to put in systems and procedures. Fourth year, we start to expand and grow and pull on staff. And so because I have over a 30-year history in business and a history in technology from its birthplace practically, I completely understand how and everything that they're going to encounter, and I prepare them for it.
And as a timeline, you already mentioned a few time frames, but what would a small company or a small person would have to expect from the moment when they say, listen, I'm good at this, this is what I do, this is what I want to sell, this is how I want to get in the market. So from the moment when they contact you to start answering all those questions you mentioned, to the point where they are, let's say, comfortable, branded in a comfortable way. I understand there's always growth and like you yourself develop your website, but to the point where they have a strong online presence or a comfortable online presence.
They would have that in 3 months. So we would get their landing page list building going immediately. That's about a 7 to 10 day time frame, because that's where we need to send everybody. Anyway, we need to start the social media going. We need to have people join the list, opt in, get a free gift, and start to book discovery calls. Because within that first 10 to 14 days, we will have come up with what are you going to sell, the structure for it, even though it doesn't exist online possibly yet. We'll have established all of that, and they're doing it kind of offline, but they're using the online to lead gen through a landing page. Then while that cycle is happening, and I've had so many clients already book speaking engagements, sell tons of product before we've even started to build their website based on the strategy that I implement before we even get going.
And just to make it clear, this applies to any kind of business and any kind of product. It's not just for services like speaking or coaching or teaching, correct?
Correct.
They can sell
everything.
drill machines.
Yep, they can sell anything. They can be a lawyer, a chiropractor. I have brick and mortar stores. And literally my client database is across the boards.
And you cover everything from building the landing page to building then the website, to doing social media, newsletters, everything, logos, like you mentioned.
Yeah, we do the logos. We don't do newsletters or blog posts or things like that. But the training that I have tells them exactly what they need to be doing, and then I review it all.
And this,
unless they were on the Diamond program, and then yes, it includes all that.
okay. So, and do you recommend that everyone, no matter in what business they are, they use all of these tools, including blog and newsletter and social media and Facebook and Twitter? Do they all have to use all of them?
So in general, I mean, every company is different on where their target market is. So the big answer for that when it comes to social media is there will be a dominant social media that they should be spending their time on. Let's say you're in the professional industry or you're a speaker, your dominant marketplace is sitting over on LinkedIn. That's where your meeting planners are, that's where the booking agents are. Then you want to build community in Facebook. That's generally where you will spend the majority of your time. Then you want to implement like a YouTube strategy. You want to be seen, be heard, raise your credibility, and that's YouTube adds not only that because of the media value of it, but then you can also integrate it to search engine optimization strategies. Everybody should be blogging, but there's a way to do it or else you're wasting your time. And the reason is you need attention to your site. Google needs to understand that you have fresh dynamic content, and blogging is the way to do it. So you embed your blog under your master site. As far as let's say articles or all of these other things, those are specific strategies implemented under specific conditions. And so it all depends where the client is and where they should be spending their time.
How about getting a presence in the media? Do you help them get that too?
I do. Yeah, I've been national all over the world on television, and I know the formula. I know how to get them on there, and I know what TV and audiences are looking for. So I have that definitely ability. It is part of the program. I have a full training element on it. And then I just show you how I did it. I give you all of my stuff that got me booked so that you can follow exactly the scripting that I did in the works, and you just take it from there.
And I think the most important in all this, because it's so much, social media and the online world is so wide that it can feel overwhelming, especially to somebody who is not as confident as you are in this world. I think the most important asset that you give here is the timing of them. Like you said, you would start with LinkedIn, depending on the topic of your business. I think that the timing is very important, and the order of them and how to do it step by step. Because if you just drop to somebody, do all this, it's going to get paralyzed.
Exactly. They'll be paralyzed. They'll be spending time where they aren't. And the biggest thing is if they aren't even branded prior to that and they don't have a social media strategy, which means you're going on to either post to educate, post to enlighten, or post to recruit, then you're kind of going to find yourself just clicking like or commenting or randomly burning time. Social media has a strategy. Every single one of my clients gets the weekly planner so that they understand, how to split your time on serving your current relationships and then getting more. And so that's the strategy.
Thank you so much for sharing this, because it is true. A lot of people feel, I'm going to do the social media, and then it would just get lost in this huge ocean of the social media. And we definitely need a strategy to follow. Now, I can tell from your voice and from your energy that you absolutely love what you're doing. You're just all into your business and all into serving your clients and helping them. If you had to pick one thing that you most love about your business and about being international, what would that be?
Oh man, the one thing I love most, I think it is clients becoming successful. That is kind of my juice, all right? The second juice is when I'm on stage and I'm seeing people transformed before me. So those are the two elements that keep me, really, really excited. The great part about what I do is prior to this, I was actually like a serial entrepreneur. I was opening a company and opened another company and opened another company. And then I had all these companies to manage. And now I have all these companies and they're not mine. it's brilliant. I just have to kind of manage them vicariously through somebody else. And so it lets me implement and get the variety that I need to kind of remain engaged. I'm a constant learner, obviously, in the industry that I'm in. I spend at least 2 hours learning new technologies every single day. And I just love both those aspects.
You just got now from the company just the part that you enjoy. You don't have to deal with their accounting, with their paperwork. You just do the part that you enjoy from every company.
Exactly.
I think that's everyone's goal, to be in a place where you are now, to just do so much of only the part that they enjoy. And Tracy, I know you also have a gift for our audience. If you want to say a few words about that.
Sure. I created this kind of little baby blueprint, and it's called Instant Online Impact: How Your Brand, Websites, and Social Media Work Together. If you go to www.fastactionresults.com, you can go and grab a copy for yourself, take a look, book a discovery call, kind of take it to the next step and ask me any questions you want. I'm easily found and available.
So that was the next thing I wanted to ask you. As a last advice or a last word of encouragement you would give to our audience, one thing that they can do today as they are watching this interview, when the interview is done, to move their business at least one step forward. What's one thing they can do today?
Okay, the one thing I would do is go and take a look at your social media and make sure it aligns. So what do I mean by that? If you take a look at my social media, I can say go to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and it's all /Tracy Repchuk. If that back end changes, that means your brand is not aligned and you need to address it immediately. And so that's the one thing you can do today, is take a quick brand analysis of what you have.
Tracy, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm sad we only had 30 minutes together, because obviously you have so much knowledge and so much experience to share, but I trust that you're going to make time for all of our audience that's going to be contacting you, and they can get in touch with you through your website. They're going to have all your contacts. Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your enthusiasm for your business and for offering this generous gift to our audience.
You're welcome, Carmen.
Thank you for watching Entrepreneurs Conquering the World with your host, Carmen Ring.